Hey y'all, it's Stacey with SouthernBite.com. I'm back in the kitchen today putting my spin on the classic Kentucky butter cake. This is my Bama butter cake. Now, we've already got our cake batter put together, but let me show you quickly how we got to this point. To start, in a stand mixer, or you could use a hand mixer too, I beat together a cup of unsalted butter and 2 cups of sugar. Now, you want to make sure that's incorporated really well, and you also want to make sure that butter's at room temperature. A cake is an emulsion, so we want to make sure that we get everything mixed together, and starting with room temperature ingredients is going to give us a head start. Once that was all combined, I added 5 room temperature eggs, large eggs, individually, making sure that they were mixed in really well before we added the next. In a separate bowl, I mixed together 2½ cups of all-purpose flour, a teaspoon of baking powder, a ½ teaspoon of baking soda, and a teaspoon of salt, and I just whisked those together. I went back to my mixer and I alternated my dry ingredients that I just whisked together along with 1 cup of buttermilk. Once those were all combined, and I made sure to scrape down the sides of the bowl to make sure that it was all mixed together, I added 1 cup of finely chopped pecans and about a tablespoon of vanilla extract. Now, picking up here, I've got a 10 to 12 cup bundt pan that I've greased and floured. We're just gonna add our batter right into the pan here, and there is literally no way to be graceful or not messy doing this process, so just keep in mind that the mess that you make is the baker's treat at the end. All right, I'm gonna do that just a couple times to make sure that we've got the air out of our pan. I've got my oven here preheated to 325 degrees. This is gonna bake for 50 to 60 minutes or until golden brown. You'll also notice too that the cake will start pulling away from the edges of the pan, and too, you can use the toothpick test to make sure that when you insert a toothpick, it comes out clean. Now, what makes this cake special is the glaze that goes on top. To make that glaze, I've combined a ½ cup of butter, a cup of sugar, a ¼ cup of water, and I've mixed that together and heated it until the sugar was melted. We don't really want it to boil. Then I added about 2 teaspoons of vanilla. When our cake comes out of the oven, just use a skewer. We're gonna poke holes all in it because we want that glaze to soak down into the cake. Once that's done, it's just as simple as pouring this glaze right over the top, being sure that the glaze sinks down into those holes that we poked. Now, I like to reserve a little bit of this glaze to brush on the top once we turn it out, and I've got one here that's ready for that. You want to do this while the cake is still warm so that we make sure that it doesn't stick. And there we have it. Again, you can brush that glaze right on the top. Folks, this is such a super delicious cake, amazingly moist, and those pecans give it such great flavor. You can find this full recipe and hundreds more on my website at SouthernBite.com. Just visit the Simply Southern tab right at the top. Y'all enjoy.
You know, Kevin, I want to point out that that cake is based on the Kentucky butter cake, named after my home state.
Yeah, but Stacey's recipe says that the original was developed by a woman from Missouri who won the Pillsbury Bake-Off in 1963. So why is it called Kentucky butter cake?
I don't really know, but it doesn't matter. Anything that good should be named after the Bluegrass State.
True, but don't forget that Stacey's improved on perfection. I think his Bama revisions to the recipe make it even better than the original.
I'll give him that. You can find the Bama butter cake recipe at SouthernBite.com under the Simply Southern TV tab at the top of the page.
Thanks for watching today, but it's time for us to run. Next week on Simply Southern, Melissa Bowman will be showing off some fancy footwork when she joins a group of ballroom dancers.
And you'll meet one of the hottest chefs around. You may have seen him on Gordon Ramsay's Next Level Chef cooking show talking about his Alabama roots. But you probably didn't know that Jonathan Harrison also has a day job organizing programs for the Alabama 4-H Center. I'm Mary Wilson.
And I'm Kevin Worthington. We'll see you then.
Simply Southern is produced by the Alabama Farmers Federation and made possible with the support of Alabama Farmers Cooperative and these sponsors.